everyone, it's Maureen back with another tutorial today from Crochet Cavalier. And last time we were here I talked about how to do the colour blending with solid colours and maybe even adding in a variegated yarn and how we can do the blending with that. So today I'm wanting to just show you very quickly how I'm doing a variegated 8-ply colour change or colour blending with a blanket that I'm started just a few days ago. And then also just to talk about what I'm going to be demonstrating over the next coming weeks. So I've had a few inquiries about different projects that I can demonstrate. And one of them is going to be the log cabin blanket. I'll pop a photo in of some log cabin blankets that I've made here. Some have been with solid colours and others have been again with the colour blending method. So I'll demonstrate both of those. For anyone who would like to try and make a log cabin blanket. And then the other thing that I wanted to show you is some bags that I've been making. So you may have seen some of these bags either on Instagram or Etsy. They seem to be quite popular at the moment. I've been using the Sunburst Granny Square, the one that I've been using on my cushions to make these. And so I just finished this one yesterday. I'll just see if I can hold that up for you. So that one with two really long handles, and they're for like crossbody sort of straps. So I've used a variegated acrylic. That one is Motivera Valley from Spotlight here in Australia. So just both sides of that I've made, sewed that up together. And then last night I just finished lining it. So that's the lining I've made in there, just with a nice simple fabric that I picked up again from Spotlight. And you can also pick up these little magnetic buttons that just that clip into bags and pouches and things that you make. So that one's got that little magnetic button there. So I've finished that one for a friend who I'm going to be sending that to very soon. And she actually put in an order for this one, which is a cotton bag. I made that one a little bit different, again with a crossbody, but just with one strap. So it hangs like that. I'll pop in a photo. I've got some photos. It's easier than showing you on a video. And then I've made an extra little flap on top here with just a wooden button to close as a closure. I was going to pop in a magnetic button in that one too, but I don't think I need it. And then I've also lined that in the same fabric, as you can see there. Yeah. So lining it, yeah, I think I like lining the bags just so that nothing falls out. You can use them as market bags, you know, for your groceries or your shopping, but I think she wants to use that too as an alternative to a bag as well. So I thought I'd just line it. So I will be demonstrating how to do those as well, and the type of joining method that I use for that, because I like to use this crisscross joining method. Yeah, so I hope you'll like those. So that will be coming in the next few weeks. I'll pop in some photos of those bags here. And if you're interested in seeing how I make those, you can let me know and I'll demonstrate that in another video. All right, so the blanket I'm working on at the moment, I'm using some of my own hand-dyed yarns. So I don't really have a theme for it. I just really love the sort of sunset colours, but I really love the orange, pink, yellow combination that I've dyed up. Dyed up some darker ones and then a few lighter ones. And then I even put in a row of green there. So I don't really have any method of what how I'm combining them, but I'm just sort of going along. And then I had this sort of one left over from my the cushion that I made with the jade vine cushion, I think I called it, didn't I? So I had some yarn left over. This ball here had that one left over, so I thought I'd just pop in a bit of that. And then these are the brighter colours, and I'm going to be using a couple of these as well. I don't think I'm going to have enough for a blanket, so I will have to dye a little bit more up to make a whole blanket. So I have a couple of cane chairs just outside our sunroom, and I thought they would look really nice hanging over this. So I'll make this one and possibly another one in a different colour as well. I wasn't too sure about the sunset colours with the green, but some of the sunset ones I dyed up did actually have a little bit of green in it, so I thought they will blend nicely. And I think even if I just pop in 1 or 2 rows every now and then, yeah, I just think it gives it a nice breakup. So first of all, I'll just demonstrate how we can do that with an 8-ply variegated yarn, which I've got here, and how we can do colour changes with that. And then I'll use my little basket of leftovers and we'll see what we can make out of that. And maybe even just throw in some really random colours in there as well. And it doesn't always have to blend with all the same colours. You can make lots of different colours and blend them in and out. So I did make one blanket. It had lots of purples and pinks and greens and anyway, a whole gamut of colours in it. So I will show you how I did that as well. And then I think also I may even be demonstrating this table mat, something like this table mat that I made. And I've combined that with that same fine yarn that I used for the colour blending demonstration last time, and just added in 1 row of a colour with the cream each time. And that's a solid granny square pattern for that one. So yes, I might even demonstrate that for you. But let's get started with a little swatch of 8-ply variegated yarn. So we'll make our slip stitch and chain 3, slip stitch into, or single crochet into the first chain, and chain 2. I was actually comparing my method of doing this moss stitch with a few other videos last night, and this is the way that I learnt it, but I did find one where they chain 3 at this end, and that was actually quite a nice look as well. It didn't look much different to mine, but if you notice when I do mine, I have these sort of like bumps on the side here where you chain 2 and go back the other way. I don't mind that sort of look because I know I'm going to be doing a border around the blanket anyway, and that will all be hidden. You won't actually see that. And I actually prefer that because it gives me a bit of a guide of where to put a stitch in when I'm doing a border along the side, because when you're bordering at the top and bottom edge of a crochet piece, it's easier to see in between the stitches where to put in stitches, but along the sides sometimes can be a bit difficult. So I do like this because I can see, where that straight edge is there. I can put in a stitch in there and then one on top of the bump. So maybe 2 for each of those sections, 2 of those 2 rows. So when I'm making a border, it just gives me a bit of a guide. But the demonstrator that I was watching last night actually chained 3 on the side, and it just gave her a more straight edge on the side as well. So that's another alternative. But I'll just show you the method that I've learnt. And if you do a search on YouTube, you'll find lots of moss stitch tutorials, and just find the one that suits you and that you can follow easier. All right, so we're going to put our hook in the chain space in between, yarn over and come out, yarn over and through 2. Chain 1 and go back into the same space again, yarn over and out, yarn over through 2. All right, so we're just going to make now a little swatch with this colour. I won't explain every step again because I have done that a few times, and if you've been watching the tutorials and following them, you'll know how to do this moss stitch now. But if you just want to gather some variegated yarns together, ones that you think might go together, let's see how we can do some colour blending with those. So variegated yarns, as I mentioned last time, are a little bit easier to do colour blending because they've already got some colour changes in it. But let's just see how we would go if we're going to change to another colour and how that's going to blend together or contrast. All right, I'll just do about 5 or 6 rows and then we'll pick another colour to change to. So just single crochets with a chain 1 in between. And then the next row, you're going to single crochet into that chain 1 space of the single crochets below. So we've got very hot weather today. It's 98.6. Tomorrow is going to be even a lot hotter, about 100 Fahrenheit. So today here is 31 Celsius. Tomorrow's going to hit about 37, 38. And so I'm inside with the air conditioning on. That's probably what you can hear in the background. The other day I was out in the sunroom and it was thundering and lightning. But it was a cooler day, so I didn't need the air conditioning on. But I think the next 2 days I'll be inside with the doors closed. I know some of you that are watching are over in the snow. So I hope you're keeping nice and warm and cozy and getting some nice cozy crochet time in. So I was replying to a couple of comments earlier from some other crocheters who also mentioned that they went through and learnt crochet as a child and then went through a cross stitch time in their 20s and 30s, like myself, and then got back into crochet again. So it seems to be something that a few of us have, had similar hobby paths that we've been through. I thought I might show you, maybe one video I'll show you some of the cross stitch that I've done. Not that it's crochet related, but just out of interest, see if anyone else has done anything similar. I think I might have mentioned in one of the other videos that the reason I stopped cross stitch was because I ran out of walls to hang them on, but the other reason, which I remembered this morning, was because of the humid climate that we live in. When we moved to Queensland from another state, southern state, where it's much cooler, I had all my cross stitch framed, beautifully professionally framed, and to hang into our first home. And over the years, because of the humidity got in behind the glass. Yeah, some mold spores started to grow and ruined a couple of the cross stitches that I had, which was a shame. So I took them all out of the frames now. I don't have any. I think I have one hanging in my house. I'll just pop in a photo here. It's a cross stitch that I have in my craft room, and it says "Home of a Needle Worker." So I've kept that one because I figured, hooks, needles, cross stitch needle. It's all a similar sort of yarn related hobby, isn't it? So I've kept that one framed, but the rest of them I've had to take out of the frames, and I just have them in a box now, stored away. Maybe one day I'll get them out again. All right, so make that our last one. And let's switch into another colour now. All right, so I've got a couple of other colours here in front of me. I'm tempted to just blend, but I mean, I could, just completely contrast, couldn't I? And go into a green, or let me just get a few other colours that I've got. So I've got a range here of just some different 8-ply variegated yarns that I've dyed up. I could go very random and just make a whole lot of stripes, and that would be fine. I could do a stripy blanket like the one that I've just popped in before to show you. I can do that. I think I'll stick with the blending for now for this video, just so that you can see how I try to transition into similar colours. Okay, so in this one we've got like the yellows, peaches, oranges, dark oranges. So to me, the most logical transition now would be to go into this one, because you've still got those bright oranges in there, but then you're starting to get some lighter yellows as well, all right? And then there's even a little bit of green in there, so then that would maybe transition to the green one later. So let's try that and see how that works. So I've just joined the next colour. Chain 2, and I'm going to carry the tail along the top of my work so that I can cover it as I go. I don't need to worry about weaving in any ends later. You've heard me say that before, I know, just repeating it again. So even though this one starts off yellow and the one below is quite orange, you can see there's a couple of little spots of orange coming through already, and the yellow is blending in with the yellow below. So it'll just nicely fade. But as I mentioned in my last video, if you don't have access to lots of variegated yarns, or if you want to try some yarn dyeing, I've done some videos on yarn dyeing. You can try and do that for yourself, make the colours that you like. So that's what I've been trying to do. But if you don't have access to variegated yarns, as I said, there's other options. You can use the solid colours to blend them together. And some of the big craft stores do have variegated yarns as well. mostly acrylic. I haven't seen in ours anyway, in Spotlight. We don't have a Lincraft here anymore in where we live. So, but I haven't noticed that they had any variegated wool, and I do like working with wool. But acrylic and cotton, there seems to be some variegated ones. I may have mentioned in another video that some variegated yarns are not really made for crochet. I don't remember which video I put that in, because it gets very blocky. It looks like little Lego bricks when you crochet it up. They seem to be more made for knitting. But if you were to use that yarn and add in a solid colour of a finer one, or if you had, say that was, I think the one I've got is an 8-ply or a DK weight. But if I added in a solid colour that was in that variegated yarn, it would blend together a lot nicer, and it wouldn't come out so Lego brick looking. All right, so can you see I've covered the yarn, the tail ends under there? So now I just have to snip them off. Yeah, I don't have to actually like weave them in, because they'll just stay in there. It's a little bit harder to work over a double crochet stitch, or US. Yeah, US is double crochet stitch in this method, because the stitches are just wider apart and it can look a bit messy. And you can see the yarn underneath, especially if it's a different colour. But for a single crochet or a half double crochet stitch, you can actually hide them underneath the stitches, and they stay in quite secure and firm. So I know some of you have said you've already started making the sunflower cushions. I'd love to see some photos. I do have my email address. I usually put it into each of my videos, but it's also in just under my, I think my profile tab or something. If you click on that, it will have my email address there. Or the other alternative is Instagram. If you're on Instagram, you can follow my account there, and you can send me a direct message and send me some photos of what you've made. Maybe I can share them on here, if you don't mind me sharing them. All right, one last one in there. And then, so there we go. It's sort of blending together, isn't it? Because we've got some yellows into here, some oranges. There's still some bright oranges in that light skein, and some darker oranges. I didn't get any greens in there yet. I wonder whether I can. I think because the green is sort of the same tone, it might actually work. So let's cut that off here and then add a little bit of this green one in and see how that looks. I mean, for some of you that live in snowy countries, these bright colours that I'm using may not be your taste or something that you decorate with. I know when we lived in the southern states of Australia, I lived in Victoria, and when I was growing up, the Federation colours were very popular, you know, which was the dark burgundies, dark greens. I don't know if that's still the same now, if they still like those colours down there. But they were a lot more winter dark colours. And when we came up here, you know, we live in the tropics, so some bright colours or just whites even up here seems to be very popular for decorating. I don't decorate with bright colours all over my house, it's just in my sunroom. So you just use the colours that appeal to you and then blend those. Okay, so we're going to add the green in now. Just had a little bit of trouble unwinding. Some of these skeins I haven't wound into balls yet. And sometimes I don't if I'm able to just hang them over my arm and work with them, because I'm only going to use a little bit of them. You know, in a project like this, I won't bother winding them into a ball. I find the skeins are much easier to store on a shelf than a whole lot of little balls in a basket like I have here. So again, I'm just carrying the yarn at the back, the top of my work to cover it. All right, so there's a row of green. I think that looks okay, doesn't it? Because this green one's got a little bit of yellows in it too, so that's sort of blending down. And then some of those brighter greens. Oh, I'm going to redo that one. So when I carry the yarn at the back, sometimes at the back you can still see, because I've changed colours, that it's a different colour. So I will just pick that up and then cover that into this row as well, so that you're not seeing that I've actually changed a yarn there. It just looks neater. Hang on, I've missed that. Catch that one. All right, we'll finish this row of green. I'm not loving this green actually with the brown in it, I have to say. Yeah, I don't think that I will be continuing this into a blanket. I didn't mind it on the other one that I'm doing because I had a few more yellows there. I mean, it looks okay. It's all right. Maybe once I get a few more rows I'll actually like it a bit better. I don't know, what do you think? But there's not really any colours here that I would now transition to, because I don't think I would put a blue with that. Maybe a purple. I don't really have, this is the last of my 8-ply yarn now until I dye a bit more. My 8-ply variegated anyway. But, I mean, I don't have to stick with this. I don't have to continue with the 8-ply. Look, I can put a few finer ones together and just make them the same thickness. And let's try that together. You know, so we could combine 3 of our finer yarns if we don't have enough 8-ply, and just see if we can weave that in. How's that going to look? Because I have done that before as well. Combine different weights of yarn, as long as they equal the same as the, you know, like 2 4-plies is the same as an 8-ply, or 2 fingering weights can be the same thickness as a DK weight, or 3 lace weights can be like an 8-ply or a DK. And then we might have a few more colours to work with, to play with. It's not work, is it? It's play. which is one of the reasons I never really got into selling crochet. I did try to sell some crochet when I first got back into it 15 years ago, and I actually did sell some shawls and scarves. I made some cowls. I even made men's ties and, you know, just some other bits and pieces I did make to sell. But I just found the amount of work that goes into it, and because I now really love making blankets, and they do take a lot of time and a lot of yarn, by the time I'm finished a blanket and then want to sell that, there's just, the value is not in it for what you can ask for that item, or expect someone to pay for that item, I should say, for the time and the yarn that you've put into it. When I was making things to sell, I just found, especially if people were putting in orders for things, I wasn't enjoying it anymore. You know, I was on a time limit and felt pressured to get it done, and for me, crochet was an escape from just different things that were, you know, that you're doing during your day, working and looking after family, and I was caring for my parents as well. And so I wanted crochet to be something to relax with, and if I was doing it to work, to sell, it became work, and it wasn't a hobby anymore. And I like to make things that I want to make. Even if I'm making it for someone else, I'll try and vary it up a little bit so that I keep interested in it. Because if I have to make, you know, 10 of the same thing or 5 of the same thing, even the bags that I showed you before, I think I made 4, 5 of those bags, and then a couple of backpacks that I sold. But I wouldn't want to be making, like, you know, a lot of custom orders of them, because then I don't enjoy it anymore. Okay, so there I've put in some variegated finer plies, so like 3 plies together. I'll do one more row, so we can't really see the colour changes there. But this is what you can do. And so, yeah, because I don't have enough of the 8 ply now to transition to make a nice fade, I could cut out one of these finer lace weight yarns and add in maybe a blue or a purple that are in these 8 ply ones that I've got. And so then that will then tie in with the 8 ply blue or purple or pink to go back into, or to transition into those DK weight 8 ply yarns of those colours. Is that sort of clear? Do you understand what I mean? Yeah. So because this is the thicker weight yarn, and the ones I'm using right now is not. But it's a way of introducing a new colour. I should just be quiet and just show you how I do it, shouldn't I? Okay, let's just finish this row and then I'll show you what I mean. So here, let me just talking about it. So there's 2 rows with that, the variegated thinner ply ones. All right, so you've got a green, there's that same lime green. So I've used this lime green to tie in with the lime green that was in the 8 ply that we had. And then you've got this darker green, and then this sort of mottled browny. It's got lots of colours in it, actually. It's got green and brown and some red underneath. Anyway, so I've done 2 rows of that. But so now we wanted to transition into purple. All right, we've got this yarn here, which is purple. Okay, we have to go straight into that. Actually, that looks nice together, doesn't it? But say we didn't want to transition straight into that, okay, because we want it to blend. So what we could do is cut out one of these colours. So I might, because we're sticking with the greens, how about we cut out that brownish one? We'll cut out that brown one, and we'll pop in a purple of a fine yarn. Chain 2, turn. So I'll do a couple of rows with this purple in, and then I'll add another purple in, and by that time we will be almost ready to put in transition back to our DK weight 8 ply. So this is the sort of colour playing that I'm doing most of the time when I make these blankets. I'm just making these little decisions. How can I transition from one colour into the next? Do I need to change the thickness of my yarn so that I've got colours that will blend? Or do I just not want to blend and just have nice stripy blanket with different colours in it? I mean, you could do like a few rows of this and then change to a few rows of completely different colours. There's no right or wrong with crochet colours. There's no really wrong, because we all have different taste. We all live in different countries. You know, we have our own taste of decor and how we dress, and we might have colours that are more traditional where we live, or that are more appealing to our eye, but that doesn't mean somebody else's choice is wrong. Just means that we're a little bit different and from each other, and that's all good. All right, so you really can't see this light purple very much because it is actually a very light colour. But if I now cut out, I'm just only going to do one row of that one. If I now were to cut out that darker green there, snip that one out and add in this darker purple. There's my little tail. I've still got that green one. I haven't cut that off yet. That's why that's hanging there. Didn't forget about it. Chain 2. Turn. Now we've just got a light green and 2 purples. So I'll do a couple of rows of that. All right, and then I'll come back and show you. Okay, so you can see there that I've added in a couple of purple rows. It's got a little tail to snip off there. Yeah, I've added in a couple of purple rows, so I've still kept that lime green in, and I've added the 2 purples there. So now when I'm going to transition to the purple, can you see how that's going to blend? I can already see that's going to work. So I'll just unravel that a little bit and we'll add some of that in. All right, so I've snipped off the 3 finer ply yarns, and now I can join back into my DK weight 8 ply in just the purple variegated yarn and crochet along with that one. So yes, that's what you can do, you know. Try to keep the same type of yarn. So if you're using wool, if you're using an 8 ply variegated wool, and then you want to transition, you need some transition colours, you can use some 4 ply or 2-3 ply, fingering weight, lace weight wool. And you can do the same with acrylic. If you've only got acrylics, then use different plies of acrylics. But make sure that if you're using a DK weight acrylic or an 8 ply acrylic, and then you don't have enough colours, like I'm demonstrating here, you want to use some thinner yarn weights, then make sure you're using, 4-ply or 2-ply acrylic together. The same with cotton. I'm not really sure about using mixed blends. I mean, some of the yarns that I use are already mixed blend. You can buy them like 50% cotton, 50% wool, or other thing, viscose, bamboo, whatever is mixed in with some yarns already. So it probably will work. I probably wouldn't try it myself, only because I'm thinking if you're washing, especially if I'm making it for someone else, if I'm making a blanket for someone else and they're not quite sure how to wash wool, and that wool can felt if you wash it in hot water, as we've learnt in the past from our mistakes, or I have, then I will try to stick with either all wool and say to them, only wash this, hand wash this blanket, or I would stick with acrylic or cotton instead of mixing it. Because if you had a mixed blend and they treat it as an acrylic and throw it in the machine and it's got a bit of wool mixed in, a few rows of wool, would that wool then felt and shrink and the rest of the blanket not? Because we know cotton has a lot more stretch in it than wool. I'm just rambling. I don't know. I don't actually know. You can tell me if I'm wrong. If you've tried it before with different yarns, did it work? And how did it work? How did you get that to work? And did it look all right? Did it feel the same? This purple is looking really nice. This is actually reminding me of one of our birds that we have that come in the spring. So we have some parrots that come, and one of them is called a rainbow lorikeet. I'll pop a photo of it in here, or a video if I can find one.
This particular one is a winner. He doesn't worry about us.
It's funny because they don't actually eat them. So I don't know what they're doing there.
That's a mother. That's a baby on the right. See how it's clacking its beak? On the left, morning.
Yeah.
Over there.
Yep.
The little baby's clacking its mouth together.
Like he's trying to come in from the other angle now.
He's trying to say, feed me, feed me.
Now the other one that he chased away is trying to come in from the other angle.
No, he's up on the wire.
No, that little one over on that side on the left. There's 3 there on the left now.
Yeah, that's.
We used to have a bird bath in the back and they would come and feed in that or swim in it. And it had all these sort of oranges and greens and purples. All right, I'm just going to finish a couple more rows and I'll come back to you. I've done 3 rows with the purple variegated DK weight 8-ply. So there's your greens that we had the 8-ply DK weight, and then remember we didn't have anything with purple in a DK. I mean with a green and a purple together to transition. So I used some finer yarns to transition, and then added a couple of purples, and then that fades back into the 8-ply or DK weight. All right, so from here now, I could transition into this one because we've still got the purples and we're adding some pinks in. All right, and then maybe my next one could be this one. All right, because I've got some pinks and purples and some blues. And then guess what would be next? Your blues. So that's how you could do like a whole rainbow blanket if you wanted to, with every colour. All right, so that just gives you an idea of how you can use variegated yarns. So let me just compare that with this one that we did the other day. So that's the more solid fade with solid colours and a little bit of variegated there. But can you see you can get a different effect with variegated yarns. The variegated ones gives you more of that sort of speckled colouring coming through. The solid colours gives you a lovely just ombre fade. All right, so that's two methods of blending there that you can try. What was the other one I was going to show you how to... I'll do another video. I think this is getting too long already. But we'll do another moss stitch with just the 4-plies. But, I mean, you've already seen that. You've already seen that in here, how you can 4-ply and just change one out. And, yeah, they were more the solid colours there. But I have got some variegated 4-ply. So we can try it with that as well. Yeah, I think that's enough for today. So just before I finish this video, I just wanted to show you, I finished this cushion. Well, I made it into a cushion cover because I didn't have enough of this yarn, and I need to order some more dyes if I'm going to continue it on and make it into a blanket. So I decided just to make another cushion cover, and so I just had enough for one side, and I've started the second side, but yeah, I need to dye some more yarn for it. I finished it tonight and I don't love it. So yeah, I just wanted to show you. So I think I was up to here, I think about there when I showed you before that I added in the jade green and the other row of green there. And then I was happy with it until like up until that bit. So let me just show you. Move that back a bit. So I was happy with it probably up until there. I think I like the colour blend into those colours. But then when I kept going, and possibly even that one as well, but then the next ball of yarn that I had was this one. And I don't know, I think I just sort of lost, it just lost its vibrancy after that with that last ball there, that last colour. I mean, it's a nice colour on its own. It's a lighter version of maybe this one here, you know, with the lighter yellows and pinks and that. But it just seems a bit dull and a little bit more beigey brown. It just didn't go. And then I finished it off with this bright pink again, and then a little tiny bit of green because I ran out of that pink. But yeah, I don't like that green and I don't like this section. So I think I'm going to pull that out. Either that or I have to pull out the whole thing and maybe do something else. But I don't really want to pull the whole thing out because I think I do like this as a cushion for out in my sunroom. I think it will go really nicely with either one of the green sunflower cushions or the peachy one that I did. I'll go and pop it next to that now and take a photo and just show you. I think it will coordinate nicely with it, but I'm just not happy with this. I feel like something's gone wrong, like as if, I don't know. It's almost like it's been dipped in tea or something like that, you know, like you put some white things through your washing machine and then they go sort of brown after a while or a bit greyish. And as I said, on its own, it's a lovely colour, but it just doesn't blend, in my opinion anyway. And then going into that darker pink there and then that green on the top just looks like, I don't know, like some grass on top of a mountain. I don't like it. So I think those rows there are coming off and I'll keep up to here. Like I've got a little bit of it in there too, see, but it's a little bit brighter, but then that one is just really dull. Anyway, yeah, I think I'm going to pull it out off to there and then just continue it on with the rest of the wool that I've got. I've probably got enough to do that in these other colours. And I was trying to save some of these pinks for the second side, and that's why I popped that one in there, but it just doesn't work. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that sometimes, you know, your colour blending, you can think it's going all right, and then you look back on it and you think, no, that's awful. So yeah, it's coming off. So I'll save it for another video to show you how I finish it off. But I just wanted to pop that in, seeing that we're talking about colour blending, that sometimes colours just don't work together. Now that I'm seeing it up against the peach one, I mean, it's nighttime now, so the colours probably look a little bit different than they would in the daytime. No, it doesn't go with the peach. All right, let's try it with something else. I've got this peach blanket from a few years ago that I made. Kind of, yeah, the pattern doesn't really go with it. And it probably fits better with this yellow one, I think. See, because I've got the this sort of yarn here is I think the same similar sort of yarn that I put in that square. So that would tie in together. I'd need to get rid of that green and that horrible dull section. So if we put that back to there, I've just sort of leaned it up against a cushion for now, but if we went back to that, I think they could work. I mean, they're very busy patterns, but I can make it work in here somehow. No, it doesn't have to be right next to that cushion, but it'll go with the other. You know, I've got the other yellow cushion there and sunflower one that I bought there. I think it'll go into this room anyway. Better than it does with the peach one. And I mean, it definitely goes with that one. That coordinates, doesn't it? Because you've got the jade stripe through it and then the jade in the cushion. If I turn that, remember that's the cushion that I did 2 different greens. So that's the other side, that's a little bit more darker. Even that one, that looks all right too. Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't put these cushions side by side next to each other, but in the same room with some maybe solid coloured ones, it might look okay. But yes, I definitely need to get rid of that ugly, I'm going to say it's ugly because I really think it is. That's ugly, that dull colour. So yeah, there, that looks okay. That's the second side that I started. And so I've still got left over that little bit, and which is this one here. And then I've still got some of the brighter orange one, orange pinks. And so that, if I popped that up there, that would almost be enough. You know, if I put that up there to finish off that corner. Although now that I'm looking at it, that's also that's that same dull one. See there? So nope, can't use that. That would have to replace this bit. And then I've still got those 2 balls that might just finish off that top bit. But then I also have that swatch that I started making for the tutorial today, so I could, you know, use that bit of peachy colour there to finish off this side. But then I'm still going to have to dye enough to make a second side. So yes, I'm going to have to order some more colours because I've run out of the mango and the pink, the bright pink lipstick, to be able to make the second side of this cushion. So yeah, anyway, that's how it goes sometimes. Some projects work and others don't, and you just have to work with it. I also had these are 2 4-plies that I had, so I think I added some of them into here. So that's what this bright colour is here. I just added those 2 together to make the 8-ply, and then I had that dull one. So I mean, if you look at it on there, that's fine, that blends all right, but when you're going from this sort of bright white with the yellows and the mustards into that, it just doesn't work. So just something to keep in mind, you know, just sort of check back on your work. I just sort of sat with my husband, watched some telly and crocheted away and finished off that last corner and didn't think too much about it until now when I'm checking over it. Okay, anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll be back next time with the log cabin blanket and maybe a little bit more colour blending. Okay, bye for now. So I just wanted to give you one last update before I finish off. This is a few days after I filmed this and I want to upload it today. So I've undone that part that I mentioned the other night that I didn't like to hear. So I got rid of that. I don't mind it there so much because it's blending in, but remember the other bit was looking very brownish and it just didn't go with the rest of the cushion, the side of the cushion. So I've undone it to there and I'm starting to just stitch on the 2 strands from this other one that I started. So those 2 strands there of 4-ply into an 8-ply. I'm going to add that on. I think that works better because it's got the white in it and it'll just keep those colours nice and bright. And then I've still got some of the bright pink left and also from the swatch the other day, that bright pink. So that should finish off this side for me. And I'm just lastly going to just pop in a couple of photos. Somebody was asking about my daughter's cushion that she started making when she was on holidays here. So that was her first sunburst granny square cushion. She's not a beginner crocheter, but I wouldn't say she's intermediate either. She's made herself a top and she made a couple of blankets when she was younger, but she hasn't really kept up with the crochet. So I'm just going to pop in a couple of photos because I'm very proud of her. She finished her first sunflower crochet cushion and she sent me some photos last night, so I just wanted to show you those. Okay, thank you for watching.